How y'all doing today? I'm going to show you my collection of swords, and when I mean swords, I mean real, authentic, some of which were used in battle, no replicas. I've also got a pistol here and some other accessories and sword related items to just do a little education on. And I'm going to start out here. First of all, these two sabers here are model 1796 English light cavalry sabers. Yes, there's a heavy version, and off the top of my head I believe these weigh 8 pounds, but the heavy one is just a monstrosity. And then at the bottom there is a mystery sword. I can't find any marks on it. It is very like the continental swords that I've seen, although I would say the quality of it probably wasn't as good, and it's in very rough shape. So anybody who could figure that one out for me, I am very open to constructive criticism and knowledge. So I've been doing this for 25 years, since I was 21. So, and I have quite a few. I think I have 37 swords, daggers, bayonets that were made for fighting. And then I have a lot of other knives. And I'm going to do some more videos to include sword bayonets, knife bayonets, and then fighting knives, daggers, and then I have a sizable amount of pocket knives. And so here we go. And also this pistol right here is a model 1796 English cavalry pistol, and it is very contemporary to these two swords. Yes, I have two model 1796. The difference is one is in much better condition, the top one, and the second one, or the one in the middle, is a civilian or made for probably officers, and that's my understanding. It is slightly less heavy in the blade, so it's a lot less wieldy if you were on foot, and so it'd be much easier to fence with that blade. And the top one, being blade heavy, is made to slash right through people, even light armor and horse legs. So that's my understanding of those two. And of course I'll give you a little view right there. There's actually the maker, and that and you can see also the condition is not near as good. I would feel comfortable swinging this sword at watermelons and like fruit. It's in pretty good condition. Both blades are in excellent shape, but I don't want to, cut heavy items that would roll the blade, because they really doesn't seem too heavy of use. You see some slight, what I have called bone nicks, because bone is very hard and will roll the blade, but I don't see any blade nicks. And later on, when I do some videos, I'll show you that. And then this pistol has unfortunately been converted probably in the 1830s or 1840s to a percussion cap, and it's quite rare. Unfortunately, if it hadn't been converted and it was in a little better shape, it would be worth several $1,000s. And because it is in rough shape, I would not put a charge in this weapon. It does work, but it's worth significantly less now, several $100s, than several $1,000s, because it was converted. So and it does work, and I'll show you. See if I can do this one-handed. Hold on for a second. And yeah, there you go. And got a little bit of hang, and there you go. Does work. So, and it took quite a bit of skill to get that right, shooting at a moving target. Another very interesting thing about this particular gun is that after you shot it, and it would usually have been shot with the right hand and then switched hands, and you'll see right there where it's flat, or somebody probably got their skull bashed in with that, because it's noticeably indented. So there you go. Really neat pistol. It's marked 1811, but it is it's from everything I see, it is English, and it is a model 1796. There are quite a few variations of that particular pistol. And my understanding is they came in pairs. This particular one had the ramrod in the holsters. And my understanding is you had a holster that had a pistol on each side of the horse. So we'll move on. And like I said on this blade, if anyone can identify that for me, there are no marks. And not the greatest of condition either. So, but it didn't cost me too much. So we're going to move over to this table. And now I've got, at the top, I have an Indian tulwar, or as they say, tulvar, from around 1880. And the reason you know it's a later version is because the finial, that round portion, is not flat, it is concave. And when they're more flattish, then they're older. And they can date so several hundred years before that. It's inlaid in silver. It's decent steel, but I would not call it high quality steel. It was definitely made in a blacksmith shop and definitely made to fight. And definitely has bone nicks and maybe even a blade nick or two, but in pretty decent shape. Then the blade right below it is a Spanish Army or Navy sword from the early to mid 1700s. And the blade's made of iron. I've seen Victorian reproductions. They're usually made of steel, and didn't see a lot of use been cleaned many times by someone. Most likely it was in an arms room or an armory on a ship even, and was just cleaned consistently, and it's wore down the original etching and decoration that was on it. So that's my guess, and I thought educated one, I think. Of course, your opinions are welcome, but trolling is not. So constructive criticism, I am down for that because it's a very interesting subject. I love to discuss that, so comments very welcome. The other sword here is a most likely Prussian from about the 1880s or 1890s, small sword. In fact, the second one there is considered a small sword, although the Spanish called it a broadsword. And the other one is strictly ceremonial, not in the greatest of shape, but it has this acid inlay, acid etching that is fascinating, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's got this acid inlay that has these signs and Prussian helmets. So that is pretty much my understanding. Of course, it's got that very indicative Prussian helmet with the spike on it. And then this short sword here is it was made in Germany for Argentina. So it has the Argentinian coat of arms on it. And it is based on the butcher knife bayonet, or known as the Cavalry 98 Pioneer blade. And I have one of these, and in one of my later videos I'll show it to you. And it has the sawback edge, and vicious and sharp and dangerous. You can easily, and I have nicked myself on that sawback before. This is not a bayonet. That's a bayonet. This is a short sword. Saw no use, you can tell. Has never held an edge. It was completely covered in cosmoline, and the cosmoline has affected the steel right there. But and then it's got a wonderful frog and a scabbard that still has a bluing on it, most of it. So fabulous weapon. I say weapon, never issue, and really interesting. And for German, Cavalry 98 is basically a Mauser, and that when the bayonet version of that fits on my Czech Mauser, no problem. And I'll do a later video with my Czech Mauser, which fits most of the bayonets that a German-made Mauser would fit. And I'll show you some other. I have several Mauser bayonets, some that fit, some that don't, and we'll do a little video on that later. So in my last table here, I've got, I say, sword-related items, and starting with, I'll start over here in the middle. This is actually, that is a foil for fencing, competition fencing. And in the middle is something called an épée, and then on the right is something called saber. And in a nutshell, foil is a very nuanced, small target area, very finesse. And I have fenced before. I fenced in college, and I love it. Kind of naturally good at it. I just never really pursued it. And then as you go farther to the right, you get larger target areas, and all the way to saber, where you're basically beating the snot out of your opponent. The target area is practically all over, and two guys just beat the brakes off each other with that. So and that's with full protection. I mean, that's some rough, crazy stuff. Then I've got a kendo bamboo practice sword, and well, I wrote it down what it was, but either way, it's for kendo. And then you would laugh that I've got this wooden sword, but the good thing about it is it's fairly heavy for wood, and it's very good for, with a practice like a boxing bag or a punching bag, the big one, for practicing swings and for getting that motion down. So very useful for that, actually. And you know, you can buy them at Ren fairs. You probably make one fairly easily. But and then over here I've got some of my books, because back in the Stone Age when I started, there was no internet. Not, you know, I bought my first I say sword, it was a sword bayonet that I no longer have, that is laying on a forest floor somewhere, but it had a self-sharpener, and so it made a really great machete. And it was made for American Enfields, because the Americans didn't have enough of their Springfields, and so it only fits on the American Enfield. So the guy had cut off the bayonet ring that goes on the barrel, and so other than that, it would have been a very, very valuable. It was made by Remington, believe it or not, and I miss it. I have gone back to those patch of woods, haven't found it. Still got the scabbard, so oh well. But that got me started, and I just never stopped. And I've bought stuff at garage sales. I'll point out ones I have. None of these, by the way, are from garage sales. And in the middle there is what they call a frog, or a rapier hanger. Some people have said sword hanger, but that's for a hanger, for putting a sword into it. You can have it in a scabbard. I've seen people do it naked, but I would make either a leather scabbard and then hang the blade in there. That would be easy. So there you go. And on that Spanish weapon, I have had a hard time finding anything on the internet. But the reason I know what it is because this older book I have from '91 has that right there, clear as day, and you know, says exactly what it is. But couldn't find anything on the internet. I guess I can't get the description right. But clearly Spanish, and mine's in even better shape than the one in this picture. And I don't think it's a repro, but I know I'm going to get controversy on that, and I could just care less, because I'm not looking to sell it, so it's mine. If you want to hate on me, go ahead. Okay. Other than that, there you go. There's my sword collection, and I am kind of a sword snob. I don't do replicas, so I don't do Conan, and I don't judge anyone who likes replica swords. And there are people who spend thousands of dollars for extremely well-made fantasy weapons and reproductions, and that's awesome. I just love the allure of something that has been used in the heat of battle, and I'm not a bloodlust kind of guy at all, but I respect both the people who utilize them and for the people who lost their lives and were severely injured. And so to me, it's a sacred thing, and all parties involved. It's violence, and it's warfare, and it's emotion, and some of these weapons have, you know, a feel of, you know, sometimes you just pick them up and you just know they have been in terrible, terrible circumstances. Particularly these two cavalry weapons, but a lot of the bayonets I have, you just know they have seen heavy use, and many people who used them are dead. Were dead in battle. I mean, all of them, practically everyone who's used these has passed away a long time ago. So there's my sword collection, and I'll go ahead and leave you guys, and I will make some more videos of quite a few things. I have a lot of antique arms. So later on, you'll see some more videos of my antique weapons, and even some modern weapons. And so you have a fine day now. I will talk to you guys later. Bye now.